I feel like I'm still stealing shots from it. You're not serious, you're a goofball. Do they imagine silent films just being oh! It's in my top 10 of all time. Come with me, come into.
Vidéo Club.
Aha! Yes, I am a big, big fan of Kelly Reichardt, and a lot of the movies that I picked are kind of older films that I discovered growing up. This is her most recent film, and she is an incredible director. She has a confidence and a sensitivity to her filmmaking. She has just such incredible confidence in letting moments develop very naturally.
Who's there?
An absolutely beautiful film, but I love Meek's Cut Off also, another film of hers. For me, because I tend to make movies that keep moving fast, fast, fast. And so when I see a filmmaker who has the confidence to just let the world breathe and then let you find your way into it, it feels like a magic trick to me. And Kelly Reichardt is one of the best American directors working today. And this is one of her best films, I think. La première vache. La première vache? Je ne sais pas. La première vache. Voilà.
One of the last movie of Guillermo del Toro.
Oh yes.
Because you have a connection with it, in a way.
I have a deep connection with this. Yes, this is me right there. I don't know if you recognize. My cousin, Nathan Johnson, who is my composer, Guillermo stole him from me for this movie. It made me so happy that Guillermo hired my cousin Nathan to do the score for this film. And it is a beautiful score. It's a very delicate, emotional score for a absolutely gorgeous film noir.
Can you read minds?
I'll be seeing you.
Come on in and behold the mysteries of the universe.
Oh my God. This is the most beautiful movie ever made.
Oh yeah?
Yep. I have one of my prized possessions in my living room. I have a massive poster, the Italian poster for The Conformist. That's gorgeous. But this movie I discovered because the Coen brothers would talk about it. I was obsessed with their film Miller's Crossing, and they stole a lot of imagery from this. Stole in the best way. We all steal. And this, I think, is maybe the most visually gorgeous movie ever shot. I mean, Bertolucci and Storaro just working at the height of their powers. Beautiful. Come with me. Come into the vault. Well, here's, The Apartment in English. And I discovered this movie in college, and I fell in love with Shirley MacLaine in this movie. This is maybe like one of the best examples of a screenplay that is constructed like a cut diamond. It is just absolutely perfect and feels effervescent and effortless and fun. And the craftsmanship with this, it's like a suspension bridge. It's just everything is in its perfect place. Everything is so deftly laid to earn that amazing emotional payoff at the end of it. So of all the many things that Wilder does so well, he does all of them the best in The Apartment. Let's play some bridge. I've maybe seen this movie, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, more than maybe any other movie in my life. I've rewatched this so many times.
Oh, now, let's don't stop being friends. How about another drink? 2 more brandies for the gentleman, and put the bottle on the bar.
So it was one of my grandfather's favorite movies. I think it's Bogart's best dramatic performance. It's probably my favorite John Huston movie, and I love all of his movies. It has an intangible quality to it. There's something about it that it has a romance to it. It has like a grand sort of tragic scope to it. It feels kind of like a parable, kind of like a fairy tale, but the real thing that gets me and the real thing I keep putting it on besides Walter Huston's performance and just the characters, is that it feels like you can taste the dirt when you watch it. It feels like they did a lot of location shooting, and which was kind of unusual for this type of movie at this time, and you can really taste the dirt in Mexico when you watch Treasure of the Sierra Madre. There was a shot in Wings. There's a, I think this, along with Sunrise, is maybe like, for somebody who's not very familiar with silent film, who wants to kind of take a look, the visual invention in this movie. I think that's what surprises people when a Twitter account will like repost an amazing shot from a silent film, and people will be dazzled because I think they imagine silent films just being. There's a shot in this that I stole completely for The Last Jedi, which is a shot that pushes over a series of tables and over the tops of them, and then eventually finds the person, and I just completely quoted it and stole it in my Star Wars movie, so Wings, appropriate. Yeah, Donkey Skin, Jacques Demy, hard to beat. This movie is so fucking weird. It's so weird, and it's so beautiful, and it's so great, yeah.
Mon enfant, on n'épouse jamais ses parents. Vous aimez votre père, je comprends.
I love Popeye.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen this?
Not yet.
You know what's very interesting about this movie is this came out when I was a kid. I loved it. But watching it as an adult, now knowing Altman's work, it is both 100% Popeye and 100% a Robert Altman movie. And those are two uncomfortable roommates, but they completely mesh together, and yet you can see both of them at all times. It's a very, very weird movie, and I adore it. I absolutely love it. And Harry Nilsson's music in it is fantastic.
He's Popeye the Sailor Man.
Oh, my hero!
He's Popeye the Sailor Man.
I love con man movies. I love train movies. There's a great, do you know the Frankenheimer movie, The Train?
No.
Oh, God, with Burt Lancaster.
Okay.
You check it out. It's absolutely astounding. It's amazing.
Paris, 2 août 1944, 1511e jour de l'occupation allemande.
Anyway, this is a incredibly fun souffle of a movie. It's a Michael Crichton film, I believe. Yeah, Crichton directed it.
So you see, gentlemen, the Crimean gold shipments and all other transactions at the bank are entirely safe.
Thank God for that.
Hey, it's okay by me. My wife and I visited a friend who's staying in Los Angeles at the famous apartment that this is set in, with the big elevator that goes up and the yoga girls and everything. The yoga girls are not still there, but the apartment building just like had this 70s.
It's still there?
It's still there, and it's this beautiful community within the building. Like everyone knows each other, they hang out. We went and visited the guy who lives in the Marlowe apartment, and it's pretty cool, man. But I mean, it's hard to make a detective movie these days and want to sound cool and not reference this movie because it's just the coolest of all time.
Hey, Mrs. Wade!
Maybe my favorite Coen Brothers film. I go back and forth between this and Miller's Crossing, but this is another film that I've seen over and over and over and over and over again. I discovered this in film school, Barton Fink. It's so beautiful, it's so odd, it's so specific, and yet it's so cloudy. Like you can't grab onto it and say, oh, it's trying to do this. And every single performance in it, John Goodman, who I think is just an incredible actor who somehow has been in some of the best movies of all time, and still I think people don't appreciate how great an actor he is. I think his performance in this is fantastic. And Totoro, of course. I feel like I'm still stealing shots from it today. It's incredible visual construction. I think this is a masterpiece. It's in my top 10 of all time. And all time. And absolutely it's in my top 5 of the past 20 years, I think. I could talk about this movie for an hour if you let me, so you're going to have to stop me. But when I first saw it and when you first watch it, it feels like a phantasmagoria. It feels like It feels overwhelming, but it also feels like a Jackson Pollock painting. It feels like it's just all coming at you and kind of random and kind of insane and crazy. And then I watched it, and then I was just completely emotionally affected by it, and it was playing at my local theater in LA. And as I was driving around during the day, I would just find myself back at the theater. And I went back alone and rewatched it on its run, maybe 4 or 5 times, I think, just alone. And every single time I rewatched it, it became clearer and clearer. And I'm going to sound like a crazy person right now, but it doesn't matter. That's what these places are for. Every single shot in this film, every single moment of it, advances the narrative in a way that is as tight as I was talking about with Billy Wilder. It's an amazing feat of storytelling that is also a absolutely stunning visual achievement that I think, in terms of modern filmmaking, is like the only thing that comes close to what Kubrick was pulling off with 2001.
So you live alone?
Yes.
Think I'm pretty?
I know, gorgeous.
I picked few whodunit because you made
because I made it too
recently.
Yes.
There is 2 behind you, and there is a few there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, what would you recommend for other whodunits? For people who like Glass Onion, for instance.
People who like Glass Onion, I would go straight to probably my favorite Agatha Christie adaptation, which is the original Peter Ustinov version of Death on the Nile. I think this movie hits on all cylinders. I think this movie is kind of the essence of everything that I'm trying to capture of what I love about whodunits with Knives Out and now Glass Onion. Big all-star cast. Incredible amount of fun, but still a great mystery. Peter Ustinov as Poirot, who Patton Oswalt wants to punch me in the face every time I say this, but he's my favorite Poirot. I love Ustinov as Poirot because I think he got what was essentially clownish about the character and very funny. When I read Poirot, I think he's hilarious, and I feel like Ustinov taps into that. In this movie in particular, great performance by Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow is fantastic in this movie. Janelle's character in Glass Onion, at least for part of it, is kind of modeled off of Mia Farrow's part in this.
Benoit Blanc, the detective?
Mr. Bronk, I cannot overstate my gratitude to be here.
When's the murder mystery start?
Hard to beat Death Trap, but these two are very much, you know, of a pair, I think, and they're both very, very good. My favorite is Sleuth, though. I think in terms of like the 2 characters in an elaborate mansion fucking with each other, it's hard to beat.
Basket like a rag doll. Which do you fancy, early Agatha Christie or vintage SS Van Dyke?
For Christ's sake, Andrew, you're talking of a murder! Of killing a real man, don't you understand?
I should...
Die Hard. I mean, McTiernan is, and especially like in this period specifically, is, I mean, this movie is a bit like Jaws in that it's just a perfectly constructed movie. And also, I mean, I saw it when I was the perfect age, but also you go back and you rewatch it and it holds up. It's just like a perfectly constructed thrill ride. And Bruce Willis, who I got to work with in my film Looper, I mean, everything that we love about Bruce Willis, it all is just like encapsulated in this film. So what can you say about Die Hard?
Mr. McClane.
My friends call me John.
How was it to work with someone that from a movie that you adore when you were young?
I've gotten the chance a couple of times now to do that. I mean, obviously this, I mean, you know. Also, it's weird and scary when you first come into it, but then, like with anything else, sorry, Bruce. Like with anything else, once you actually engage and start doing the work, all of the weirdness goes away, and then not all of it. You're still, once in a while, you're still in the middle of the work, and it's like the camera zooms back, and you realize you're talking to Bruce Willis or Mark Hamill, and it gets weird again. But then you go back in. No, once you start actually doing the work, the weirdness kind of recedes a bit. You know, you don't have room for it in your head when you're actually trying to make a movie, I guess. Is that The Last of Sheila?
It is.
Oh.
The French.
Les Invitations Dangereuses. Oh, wow.
Sheila Green, Memorial, Gossip King.
This looks like a funky ass. Is this like I don't want to ask the origin of the video that's on this disc, but doesn't matter. Please, if you're in Paris, come to this store, and if you don't know this movie, please come and join the club and get this movie, because co-written by Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins, an absolutely fantastic whodunit from the 70s with a wonderful cast. Very, very fun movie that not a lot of people have heard of. Yeah, a dangerous invitation indeed. I'm the biggest.
I think there's someone that you know from the cast, maybe.
Yes, there might be. Joe Gordon-Levitt. Where is he? There he is, looking very serious with his gun. You're not serious. You're a goofball. I love Inception so much. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. After Joe worked with him, I just kept trying to get stories from Joe about what it was like on set on that movie. We just worked together on my TV show, and it was the first time. We have stayed very close as friends, but it's the first time we've been on a set together since Looper. Yeah, it felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like we had both. Well, I don't know. I can speak for myself. I felt much more confident. I felt like I had matured. I hope I never mature. I'm sorry, but I felt. It felt so good to just be on the set together and just be collaborating. 10 years after we last did it, it was a pretty joyful experience. Know a couple of these guys.
Yeah.
Driver.
Of course.
The wonderful Adam Driver. And of course this dude right here, Daniel Craig. It's funny because this is like, he's having so much fun in this performance, and I feel like he gets, like, having done a bunch of interviews now for Glass Onion and Knives Out with Daniel, I get asked about like how, casting him in this when he seems like so serious in the Bond movies. And I think this is a really good example of how the range that he has, I think. And he just has an incredible toolbox as an actor, and just going.
So you try to make him having that much fun?
We try. I always try and have fun. What are we doing if we're not having fun? You gotta have some fun on the set. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you have the pressure. Like when you're doing Glass Onion, you make a sequel of a movie that was a success. When you're making The Last Jedi, it's Star Wars. Like you have a pressure when you're doing this movie.
You do, but it's what it's like. It's like on a roller coaster. The part where you're nervous is going up the hill. Once you're over the top and actually doing it, you don't have time to be nervous because you're just on the ride. And that's really how it is. Also with the Star Wars movie, it was the same thing. It didn't feel like a lot of pressure on set. It felt like any of my other movies. It felt like I grew up making movies with my friends. That's how I learned how to make movies. That we would just hang out on the weekends and make movies together. And that's still kind of what I try and have it feel like when I'm on set. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 8. First time shooting with Mark, first time shooting with Daisy. First time shooting a Star Wars movie, and we got some cool stuff. Yes. I mean, I love all of Wong Kar-wai's movies, but this is the one that's closest to my heart. I think because I heard Tarantino talking about it, I think a lot of us, that's how we discovered it. Like when I was in my 20s, I discovered this movie and watched it over and over. It feels like jazz. It has a beautiful, alive, playful, jazz-like feel to it. An incredible amount of emotion in it, but at the same time it feels light on its feet. And I don't know how to say this with it, but it's sounding right. It's a young person's movie. Like it feels like it actually captures sort of all of like kind of the very raw kind of poetic passion that I associate with how I was feeling about being young and getting my heart broken and longing and danger and romance and money and the city and all of these different things. It's just the most like vibrant, passionate expression of that. I think it's more playful than a lot of his movies that he's made that people maybe know a little bit more, like In the Mood for Love, or which are they all have like that sense of playfulness to them, and they're all but I don't know, it has almost like a Richard Lester almost like vibe to it. It's got a very loose kind of beautiful kind of frame rate thing, the slurring visuals that he does. which I recently looked up how he did it because I wanted to recreate it for a scene in Poker Face, actually.
Okay.
It's a fantastic thing. He shoots it with the shutter wide open, so it's not chopping it off between frames, it's just leaving it open. Then he shoots it at a low frame rate, say three frames per second, and then in post repeats the frames to speed it back up to 24 frames a second.
Okay.
And it gives that very specific, beautiful effect when they're running through the market and the chase at the beginning and everything, and it's so cool, man. It's just cool.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much.
Konbini.